Hi Maya, this is Fancy, and thank you for your email. I appreciate that. Sometimes if I don't get to your first post and you repost again to the thread, then all I see is your most current one. Of course, that's not your fault, but that's how that happened. I'm looking at your notes, and your strategy is to create transparencies through single visual pathways and interpenetration. And you like the piece, but you want the transparencies to be stronger. Um, hmm. I may be misunderstanding, but I don't feel that you can create your transparencies through either single visual pathways or interpenetration. What you want to do is create them through vanishing boundaries. That's the main objective of the piece. And the visual pathways and the interpenetration are ways that you can add additional emphasis, or I'm sorry, visual interests to your design. So you're kind of using, I would say, I guess you could say you're using maybe points of emphasis. They gradate away from the center on at least three sides, or maybe I'm not understanding how you're using. I see these as visual pathways here, and maybe you're talking about visual pathways moving across. So clarify that, and that will be helpful. But the way that you create transparencies, in my opinion, is where the two hue family areas come together, their boundaries. That where their boundaries are. Here's your boundary for your orange and your yellow area. And because you're using values that are similar, you create a vanishing boundary. So if I'm squinting and looking at this area here, I barely notice that boundary that separates these two different hue families, because these are very similar in value, and therefore they just kind of melt together and transition nicely. So you can see where the yellow meets the green. That is not a vanishing boundary, and therefore that transition does not happen as well. So you don't get a good transition. In here between the cyan and the green, you don't get a good transition because this gradating visual path is separating those. So you can't really see the vanishing boundary to any great extent. You can see it a little bit here, but then it just stops, and so that transition doesn't work as well. Then I'm trying to decide, I see these as visual pathways or perhaps a way to add interpenetration. As for the interpenetrations, so I think that you need to kind of limit them. So here you have kind of the interpenetration being a visual pathway within the same hue family, so purple gradating within purple. This one's kind of magenta gradating within magenta, and then this one is kind of maybe cyan, kind of complementary, cyan within the orange, but then you also have purple within the orange and partly within the yellow. So that's a little confusing to me. You've got both, I think this is yellow and then this is orange. Okay, so you've got kind of reciprocating. I think I see what you're doing here. So this is, but okay, you've got this within the orange over here and within. So for me, it's a little bit too many interpenetrations. I think I would simplify it. And then see how you have these points of emphasis. They're kind of elongated and rectangular. We don't see that here. So this corner does not unify. So those are some of the things you need to think about. Vanishing boundaries. So this looks really good. These you don't see. This could work out well. But the values aren't similar here. This one's a little bit trickier because you have these intersecting in a different way. So they don't share a boundary that's very long. It's really short. So you need to think about that as well. I hope that helps, and I'm going to roll up to your scale. Right now it's kind of breaking in half. You've got the vanishing boundaries working out pretty well. It's really hard with the digital scale. So when I look at this, I see this as being one long step. So that's a good thing. So when I look down it, I see that the equal value contrasts aren't moving at the same rate. It kind of breaks in half. the bottom 3 rows with the top 4 rows. And even this one kind of separates itself. So you see kind of 3 parts to your scale, this one, then you see these 3 rows, and then you see these 3 rows. So this is a huge jump, this is a much softer jump, and this is so soft. So these are not equal at all. So when you look at changing these steps to get better equal value contrasts vertically, you're going to need to change all of these steps within the same row at the same rate, if that makes sense. So hard, softer, very soft, pretty hard. These are probably the ones that work the best together from here to here. So you need to get that working a little bit better.